How many of you had a sibling growing up or have children today? And how many times have you heard somewhere along the line, "It's not fair"? Or you may have been the one who pronounced, "It's not fair. They got more, they don't have to do as much as I have to do." And so it goes on and on. The story of Mary and Martha is at heart a story about us, very clearly a story about us. And it brought back a lot of memories as I was preparing for this sermon, in that I grew up with an older sister. I'm actually one of 5. And my sister Nancy is also an Episcopal priest, and in fact was one of the Philadelphia 11, so she is older than I, by 22 months, I might add. And there were times when we were in high school that, as the oldest, and I can go into great detail here, but both my parents were eldest children also. So there was a system there in and of itself that was a little challenging, shall we say. And I can remember in high school at one point my sister saying to me, "I'm your elder, you will do what I tell you." And I, being the younger sister, basically went, "Yeah, right." But with that said, this story of Mary and Martha is a little bit about sibling rivalry. Jesus comes, is welcomed into their home, and Mary immediately sits at Jesus' feet to learn, to be offered the word that is Jesus, that is the Christ. And Martha, and many of us are Martha at heart, worry about our guest, and worry about the meal, and worry about the house, and worry about so many things. And then we get to that little exchange where Martha, rather than going to her sister directly and saying, "Mary, I need some help," she does what is referred to in the vernacular of our own day as triangulation. She does the around the back and goes to Jesus and says to Jesus, "Jesus, tell her to help me." None of us have ever done anything like that, I'm sure. But the reality is, it's the green-eyed monster has arisen in this place. But hospitality is also a part of our story, both in the Old Testament lesson from Genesis, where the visitors arrive, and it's a very nice Trinitarian formula of 3 individuals who come to the tent in the noonday heat in the desert and make a pronouncement to Abraham. First of all, where's Sarah? Again, an unusual thing in ancient Israel. You didn't worry about the women. They were out of the way, out of the way. But these 3 visitors come asking specifically for Sarah, and then promising that she will have a child. And in the midst of that, Abraham immediately goes to get water for bathing their feet after having crossed the desert, goes and gets the fatted calf, if you will, and prepares a feast for those who have come to his door, to his tent. Hospitality, how critical it is. For a long time, hospitality was kind of pushed off as women's work. I think we've discovered that anybody can be hospitable, and it involves an invitation and graciousness and openness to the other and an awareness of that individual and being present to them. And then we come into this story again, and Mary, who sits at the feet of Jesus and listens and learns the importance of the word. But the other side of that is, again, first century Palestine, first century Judaism. Women were, once again, not center stage ever. There was women's work, and they were pushed to the side. And there's a story from Eliezer the rabbi, a first century rabbi, who said basically to teach a woman theology was akin to teaching her lechery. Not a particularly nice commentary. But how often Jesus, the radical Jesus, once again, comes in and invites women to the front, to the center, to be included in the community life. And yet again, that is true in our story today.